The Podcasting Dead is available on iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, and SoundCloud. Make sure to subscribe for more podcasts. And while you're at it, drop us a like. If you want to help support the channel and have access to extra content, secret contest, and more, make sure to search for us on Patreon. Patreon.com/thepodcastingdead.
All right, we are live. Well, kind of. We're live, but not live to you, the listener.
Alive.
Yeah. Or are we?
I don't know, man. It's Weird Wednesday. Anything could happen. You could be a hologram. I could be an android. I don't know what's going on.
You're on to me.
I figured when I threw that stapler at you and it just passed right through, I had an idea. I didn't know for sure, but I thought.
You didn't believe me when I told you I could phase in and out of...
I should
wow.
have. And that serves me right for throwing office supplies around the station.
That's what you get, absolutely. Yeah. I'm Justin.
I'm JP.
And it is Weird Wednesday. Welcome to the podcast. As the intro suggests, we are the Podcasting Dead. We podcast about a little bit of everything from, of course, The Walking Dead to weird paranormal and conspiracy type stuff to what we're doing in our personal lives. So if you are a fan of podcasts in general and or any of those genres, consider hitting that subscribe button. Helps us out a ton and doesn't cost you anything.
No.
Our Patreon does, but we'll talk about that later.
Yeah.
In the meantime, so today we're doing something a little bit different. A lot of times with Weird Wednesday, what we do is we get, facts on something, or we get a summary of something, be it off the Wikipedia page or whatnot. We kind of give you a rundown, and then we give our opinions. But now we've got a really cool theory that's been going around for a while. This is nothing new. This isn't anything that like we think we came up with by any means, but it's one that JP and I enjoy conversating about, and we actually had to stop talking about it like at some point last week because we're like, all right, we're going to need to save this for the podcast because it's just a really cool subject and a cool thought. The thought that extraterrestrials are not extraterrestrials at all in the sense that we think of them. In fact, they are us from the future coming back to observe past events. And, just to me, that's fascinating because, JP, one of the things I think is cool is that one thing, and neither one of us are really big believers in the paranormal, but one thing that is a point that I always kind of attributed to me not believing in the paranormal is I would say, well, like extraterrestrials and ghosts and such. Even though I do believe in extraterrestrials, not so much, the ghosts and stuff. But you would think with today's technology, we would catch them on camera a lot more. I mean, back in the day, the sightings were through the roof. But now that we have cameras, it's like they stopped. And it makes it sound like, people are making it up, yada, yada, yada. But with the extraterrestrials, it really holds a point because it's like, well, from here forward, like our generation's entire everything is recorded history. It's That's uploaded true. In clouds. It's on hard drives. So perhaps the reason why they were being spotted throughout history and up until like the 80s and 90s is because that part of history wasn't as well documented and recorded.
Yeah, and don't get it twisted. There have been some pretty big sightings in the last 10, 20 years.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
What was there, a big saucer craft over like Mexico City or something?
There's been some very convincing video captured in the last decade or two, without a doubt.
Right, and now there, more and more people in the military are coming out, especially the Air Force and Navy, things they've seen, things they've experienced, man. I mean, I do agree with you. You would think in the age of the smartphone, we would be catching more UFOs,
right?
But there's still some stuff happening out there. But it does feed into that idea that they're only visiting times where footage doesn't exist, prehistory, all this kind of stuff.
And to clarify, because I was kind of going a little fast there, because I was really just trying to get what I wanted to say out, so JP could have the mic. To clarify, when I say that, because I know it might sound kind of contradictory. When I say I don't really believe in the paranormal, I mean things like werewolves and vampires, ghosts, mostly stuff like that. I'm not going to say I 100% don't believe in them, but I am more a non-believer than I am a believer. I do think there are some things you just can't explain out there. But with extraterrestrials now, if you're new to the channel, I do believe in extraterrestrials, or I have. So when I use that video thing, that to me that kind of does apply to ghosts. But like you just said about UFOs, then again, though, I don't know. Maybe there are still really convincing ghost videos out there. We're just so desensitized to them, we don't pay attention. Because actually, contradictory to that point, you and I spend a lot of time on YouTube watching like ghosts caught on camera or extraterrestrials or creatures. And while some we can we feel we can explain away pretty logically, there definitely are some that we sit here and go, how the hell did they do that?
Yeah, there's some on there, man, that really make you scratch your head and wonder.
So the point I made earlier is not necessarily a point, I guess, that I can say. I mean, I definitely kind of reaffirmed to me when I thought of it, like, yeah, that's right. I don't think ghosts are real. But now that I stop and think about it here on the podcast,
are totally real.
I'm like, ghosts are real. I'm like, well, no, actually, lots of video are caught. It's just that we don't pay it as much mind because it's so easy for people to fake videos now that we just dismiss pretty much everything.
Yeah, man. And we've talked to people that we know are of sound, rational mind, like our buddy Andrew, who was on the podcast a while back about his ghost experience. Dan Ashdown, very sound-minded guy. So, I mean, it's a lot of stuff out there we can't explain, and I don't know, but when it comes to aliens, quote-unquote aliens, extraterrestrials, going back in time to observe history that are actually humans.
Right.
Man, so you think they're basically like archaeologists in a sense?
Well, historians maybe. Hell, maybe they're guided tours. I mean, who knows how far in the future they're from.
Do you think they walk among us?
It'd be easy to do, would it not? It'd be easy to do. It'd be easy to influence. I mean, if time travel exists, it'd be easy to infiltrate the system. I mean, absolutely. I mean, who knows? The sky. If time travel's real, man, the sky's the limit. But then, of course, if they're coming back to die. But in my mind, with this extraterrestrial theory, I don't play much into that they're trying to influence us because, you know, that's a paradox. We don't know if there was time travel, if someone came back and messed with our current timeline, would it affect their timeline? Would it create a new timeline? No, but we don't know. You know, that's just one of those things we don't know. And I don't think they would want to risk that unless they, you know, but I don't think they really are trying to change the past, at least the main group. I'm not saying there aren't rogue people or groups out there, but you know, I just think that they're observing it, kind of like you observe stars through a telescope.
Yeah, you know, after we talked about this yesterday, it really got me thinking. I used to be a big proponent, and I still think it's fascinating, the ancient astronaut theory, you know, extraterrestrials from Nibiru or wherever coming and helping develop our ancient ancestors and civilization. So if those were actually time travelers from the future, like you said, it was very paradoxical.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, do you think that people from the future would have came back? Golly, man, my head's already spinning.
Yeah, I mean, when you get into time travel, man, it's a very difficult thing to grasp when you're just trying to figure out the rules of time travel. I mean, this is something that's been pondered since the idea of time travel. Oh, man, we're certainly not going to be the ones to figure it out. But, I mean, you know, one theory out there, too, is that the Greys, the little aliens that you're most commonly associated with, that they're not actually aliens. They're just drones. They're just kind of like that. What was that movie with, was it Surrogate, the movie with Bruce Willis, where everybody had like this robot body? And
like sexier bodies.
Yeah, everybody was like fat and slobby and just stayed in their houses, but they had these like robot avatars.
Yeah.
You know, we see that some people say that that's what the Greys are. Maybe that's how they time travel, because the human body can't survive time travel. Because I don't know, maybe it violates physics in a way that the human body just simply can't survive. However, perhaps maybe these drones and their ships, which apparently are specially made, maybe they can. And maybe that's what they do, is they observe us through these drones. And then that way they don't ever have to worry about getting shot down and killed or hurt or, you know, anything like that. Maybe that's not what the government's not hiding the secret of extraterrestrials. Maybe the government's hiding the secret of time travel. They found one of these drones in a Roswell crash. Maybe, hell, for all we know, that could have been like one of the first experimental flights and they screwed up and crashed. You know, we don't know. But, you know, maybe they found the drones and realized, holy crap, these things are just machines.
Yeah, man. It reminds me of Star Trek The Next Generation. You know, the Federation would set up outposts on these, like, you know, backwater planets, and they'd walk around in like invisibility suits and have like, you know, invisible bunkers and stuff, and they just walk around invisible, you know, looking at these ancient culture. Well, not ancient, but, you know, underdeveloped. I mean, that makes a lot of sense.
We are a species that love history.
Yeah,
we love history
and nostalgia,
and also too, you know, human existence has basically been dictated by dictators. I mean, history is written by the victor.
Yeah.
So
man.
some history we've learned, we know is not the real history. We know that's not how things went down. So, in the future, maybe we get to a point. I mean, I don't think so, but maybe we get to a point where we finally go to hell with this bullshit. Mm-hmm. We want to know what really happened. I mean, and I say I don't believe so just because right now the way humans are going, we're getting more and more divided on things than ever. But, what I'm saying is maybe there is a time in the future where we finally decide to hell with this. We want to know real history, forget who was right and who was wrong. And so we start sending drones back in time to observe and record history.
Yeah, man. I love like alternate historians. I was reading this one guy has a theory that like the Middle Ages never happened. Like basically historians after the fall of Rome or whatever, like basically made up this big chunk of history. Like in reality, it's still like the 1700s or something. It's crazy, man. It's wild.
Wait. So what that according to that theory, saying that we aren't actually in 2020, we'd be in like 1720. There was a couple of hundred years that were just thrown in there.
Right. And a lot of these historical figures from the Middle Ages and stuff are just made up characters and all this kind of thing.
I'd love to read into how that works because I'm sure he's got a good explanation for it. But I'm like, how? Yeah, was this before people knew what year it was? I mean, like you go to bed and you're like, oh man, it's 2020. You wake up and you're like, sign and date, and you sign your name and you write something 20, and they're like, man, what are you doing, man? It's 3074.
I wish I could remember the guy's name, but I mean, for that to be like plausible, I mean, you're talking about history like Chinese history, like India, like everywhere across the world, I mean, a lot of cultures had calendars and all this kind of stuff.
Some of the history I find most fascinating is the history where we think two groups of people or two different cultures never interacted before a certain fixed time period, and then we learn that there are clues that they interacted much longer and much further back than we originally thought.
Yeah, man. Well, a lot of people have theorized. There's a book on it, 14 something or another, but that the Chinese were actually sailing ships to the west coast of North America. And interacting with the native people, making little settlements, like they were colonizing the West Coast before Europeans were ever colonizing the East Coast.
Is that right?
And I found what I'm talking about, apparently the phantom time hypothesis, a historical conspiracy theory asserted by Heribert Illig. He published it in 1991. And he says that the Holy Roman Emperor Otto III, Pope Sylvester II, and possibly the Byzantine Emperor Constantine VII fabricated the dating system retrospectively in order to place them around the year of AD 1000 and to rewrite history to legitimize Otto's claim to the Holy Roman Empire. And there's a lot here about all that stuff. But yeah, it's pretty crazy, right?
Yeah. I mean, that just sounds like it would be such a big task.
297 years added to the early Middle Ages.
Huh. Yeah. That's super interesting. I'd love to check that out.
Yeah, man, that sounds like it's worth its own podcast.
Yeah, I can't wrap my mind around how one would accomplish that, but I also haven't read it yet. So I'm very interested in reading and seeing how one would do that. Sounds interesting, though. I mean, yeah, like I said, maybe we can read up on that, and that can be a weird Wednesday podcast.
That's wild, man.
But I mean,
in the Phantom Zone.
How cool would that be, though? Like if somebody said, JP, if going even further, if the Greys are just drones,
mm-hmm.
What if someone said, like, hey, JP, I can take you in this room for a couple $100 and let you witness Moses leading people? That was a terrible example. My brain's been so slow this year, and last year. But, I could take you back in time and you could witness the Gettysburg Address, like as it happens.
Yeah, you could go to Woodstock.
Right. It'd be really cool to do that. And I think that there have been times where we've spotted them and they're like, oh crap,
Yeah, man. I think the drone theory is plausible. Whether you're coming from light years away and you don't want to like freeze your body for the journey or whatever. I mean, because I find it hard to believe that humans are going to evolve to a point to where they just don't have sex organs or buttholes or whatever. That just seems crazy to me, But it could happen, I guess. The Biavians, man.
Are you talking about like the Greys?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's assuming that humans evolve into Greys, and what we're talking about, the Greys aren't evolved humans; they're machines.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's why it makes more sense. I don't see.
Oh, you're saying some people think that we evolved into the Greys, and the Greys are coming back in time. Oh,
yeah, I've heard that as well. That we evolve into them, and they're coming back to check on us or whatever.
I mean, I don't know, though, because Answers with Joe, another really, really, really good YouTube channel that I love that channel. If you haven't ever watched Answers with Joe, go check it out, man. Dude's got some cool stuff, and way smarter than we are. But he has a video talking about what people who colonized Mars would look like.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah,
and it's completely different. So I mean, while I don't necessarily know if we evolve into the Greys, or I definitely can say we don't. I mean, living in space for an extended period of time, or living somewhere, because we've evolved to live on this planet.
Mm-hmm.
Everything about our bodies has been shaped by the fact that we exist on this rock. Well, if we existed somewhere outside of this, or started developing and evolving outside, there's no telling what we would look like.
That's true.
I mean, I don't know where the sex organs would go, because, I mean, we do need to repopulate one way or another. But again, I'm not a scientist, so I don't know. Maybe there's some other way in space humans can procreate aside from putting things into other things.
A lot of people think the future of reproduction is going to be all in the lab. Everyone's going to be a test tube.
And that's what I was going to say, man. Sometimes you read my mind and you spit it out before I can say it, but that's what I was going to say. And it definitely could be where we get to the point, because we're already talking about being able to do like gene manipulation and more or less creating like these perfect babies that are free of certain diseases and deformities, and pick what hair color we want and what gender. I mean, if that's the case, I mean, it could get to that point where every baby's just made in the lab. Why risk the health of the mother? Why risk the health of the child? Why risk any of that when you can just more or less grow the baby in a lab and use a little bit of the mom, a little bit of the dad, put it in there. And I mean, if there's one thing that, Darwin observed, it's the fact that if you don't use it long enough, you lose it.
Yeah, making a baby is pretty much going to turn into like Build-A-Bear Workshop.
I mean, we could develop with just tiny little holes for our pee. And I mean, I can't imagine I don't know, though. Would we poop the same way if we were living in space or living on another planet? I mean, we would still have to poop. We have to get rid of all the extra stuff. So, I mean, but I don't know. Again, we might poop differently, and that could evolve. So, I mean, it's hard to imagine us evolving into the Greys. But then again, if we leave Earth, there's no telling where human evolution will go.
Yeah, it's wild to think about, man. And a lot of people also think that these UFOs are just visitors from not off planet, but just a part of the planet that we've never explored or discovered. Well,
some say they live at the bottom of the ocean. Some say they live in Antarctica.
The hollow Earth theory is another one.
And then, a lot of times, too, I wonder if extraterrestrials aren't extra-dimensional beings.
Yeah.
Like from another, and I forget our galaxy or our universe. I mean, what if they're not even from, our reality? They're from a whole nother dimension.
Yeah, man. The more you learn about, like, people with these DMT experiences and encountering beings, like, whatever the next realm is, it does make you think. I mean, maybe they are just venturing here from another dimension.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know what they would find so interesting about our dimension, but
they're explorers just like us, I guess. I don't know, or maybe they're like parasitic. Who knows, man?
Well, I mean, you do have some thoughts. I mean, like the shadow people, these like black shapes.
Didn't
figures.
You say your dad encountered something like that?
He did. He did. No, you're not tripping. He did. He might have been tripping, but he did. But he doesn't really believe much in the paranormal. I'm not going to say he doesn't believe in ghosts, but he definitely dismisses a lot of ghost stories. And, this place is haunted. He doesn't really give much of it credence. He's not gullible when it comes to the paranormal. He's just one of those that doesn't, he doesn't really discuss it. But judging by the way he receives, people's paranormal experiences, a lot of times I think he just tries to rationalize it.
Right.
But he definitely, when he was a kid, he saw some black shadow being thing like freaked him out. But
Probably
you could actually hear that.
It's like a dream.
Yeah, you could hear that on one of our paranormal podcasts. But he just was being physically shook by this thing.
Yeah, you ought to take the rig out there, man, and like get him to tell us.
Oh, he won't. No, he ain't into stuff like that.
You do that?
Mm-mm. Well, I mean, I could try. But
I was gonna say,
I doubt he's going to give you I doubt he's going to give you much. I mean, I'll do it though. I'll do that, and we'll see if I can get him. But basically, he just had an encounter when he was a kid where he thought his dad was trying to wake him up. Turned around, and there was just this black mass, like reaching for him, and he screamed, and he said it was like black, like not a black outline, like the absence of anything.
And now he probably just chalks it up to like a nightmare.
No, he still says he can't explain that. He says he knows he was awake. He knows he was awake. That's the kind of the one he can't explain. He's I don't know. He's like I was awake. There was something in there. I mean, he believes in. My dad's Christian, so he believes in heaven and the afterlife and things like that. So I mean, he definitely believes that there's stuff out there. He just thinks that a lot of people confuse normal situations with paranormal.
Yeah.
This toy keeps going off. Okay, well. This motion-activated toy keeps going off. It's got to be a ghost. My dad's the kind to say, no, the batteries are probably dying.
Yeah, and most Christians will tell you can't believe in angels without believing in demons. So
right, yeah. Oh, yeah, he definitely believes in demons.
Right.
But some people think that the shadow creatures are beings from another dimension, and they feed off of energy. Mm-hmm. So and a lot of them feed off of negative energy. So that's why they evade you or scare you, because they want you scared. Kind of like Pennywise, in the sense of Pennywise feeds on people, likes to scare them first because they taste better. These things get you really scared because that scary feeling is something that they can actually eat or absorb. I don't know how they feed off of it per se, but I imagine they absorb it in some way, shape, or form. But that's one theory. So I don't know. I still find the idea that extraterrestrials could be us from the future observing the past fascinating, because I've always loved time travel. Of all the sci-fi genres out there, time travel's always been at the top of my list.
Yeah, man. It's a cool thing to ponder.
How does the future affect the past? Can we affect the past? Are things predestined, and predetermined to happen? I mean, because you think, okay, well, if they're not, then at one point we had a history without these UFO sightings, and then they started going back in time. So how did that affect their present? Did they go back, do they go back to their present and there are no UFO sightings? It's so fun to ponder.
Yeah, and the fact that there have been sightings going all throughout, Columbus, the old Sanskrit stuff from the Hindus, it makes you wonder, man, if people did go way back in ancient history to influence the development of humanity,
Oh yeah, well, right. That's taking it a step further, more so than just observing. Because I did say that I didn't think any were trying to manipulate, and I guess I mean more current day, because it would be so hard to do in our time. But no, you could be exactly right. I mean, they could be in the past. Maybe they did more than observe. Maybe in the past they experimented on past humans. To maybe there's something that they needed from the DNA sequences of early human. I don't know. Maybe there's something they needed to figure out in the future that they look to the past to solve.
Yeah, man. That's what Red Foreman did on Star Trek Voyager. Like over and over again, he was trying to restore his solar system or whatever. But every time he would destroy the timeline, he'd have to go back, yada, yada, yada. But
yeah,
Red Foreman was really good on Star Trek, man. That was a good episode. It was a two-parter.
Well, I mean, like I said, earlier I said I didn't think they were manipulating. And I meant more current day, because now there's just so much record of everything. I mean, it'd be so hard to, without, I guess, killing someone and stealing their identity. I mean, it just would be hard to infiltrate politics and stuff, I feel, if you were a time traveler. Maybe not. I don't know. I'm not a secret agent. Somebody out there is like, no, all you'd have to do is whatever, man. I'm not a secret agent. I just feel like in the day where we record everything and we have record of the last time you took a piss, it just would be really hard to infiltrate and influence. Huh?
You got that piss app too?
I told you, I micromanage, man. I know everything you do while you're in this building.
But it makes you wonder, man. That could explain stuff like the Mandela effect. Maybe in one timeline they went back and saved him. Maybe in another one they killed him.
Well, then you get into like the butterfly effect.
Right.
Anything you do will affect everything. So going back and changing something little. I mean, something as harmless as maybe kidnapping a caveman and experimenting on him could have a ripple effect that leads to even a minor change in a day. I don't know. Maybe his maybe that caveman died during the experiments, and his distant ancestor was sitting in the room when they were casting for a genie movie and decided that Sinbad would be a better genie than Shaq would have.
Yeah.
And they casted that. But being that you went back and experimented on that caveman and he ceased to exist, and down the road, so did his ancestor. When they had that meeting, somebody was like, yeah, it would be a great idea to have Shaq play a genie. He's totally a good actor, right? Is there anybody better for it? Because if you're wondering what I'm talking about, too, go check out our video or other videos on the Mandela effect. That's one big one, is that people seem to remember this movie where Sinbad played a genie, but actually he didn't play a genie. Shaq played a genie. But so, I mean, and that's a very long stretch, but I'm saying that going back and manipulating the past with the butterfly effect in consideration could change anything in the future. So, I mean, you just don't ever know. So a lot of Mandela effects could be due to stuff like that.
People tweaking with the timeline. Who knows?
They go back and grab up an early human that they feel is not connect, whatever, thinking, oh, this will have a very minimal effect. And maybe it does, but we do still see it and recognize it.
Yeah, man. I remember the night after I got my DUI, like I was like 19, and it had the butterfly effect hadn't long come out. The Ashton Kutcher movie. I kept just squeezing my eyes shut and like, just go back in time, like 12 hours, just do it. Fuck.
And I'm assuming, being it's still on your record, you weren't able to do that.
No, it's not on my record, but not because of time travel. Just a really good lawyer.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, hell, it's still on your record.
No, like
no. I mean, I'm telling you, they might have expunged it, whatever. But I'm saying the government knows everything you've done.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like,
it won't hurt. It won't hurt you, like getting a job. But what I'm saying is, Big Daddy government knows everything.
Yeah,
it's still on your record in the long run.
Yeah, but like if because of my job here, if you were like, I need your DMV driving record, if I went and
I know that. This is getting more on the fact that we're a conspiracy podcast,
right,
and I'm saying that everything you've ever done is still on record. But yeah, so I don't know, man.
Yeah, it's wild. It's wild. I don't know. I don't know what these alien creatures are up to, or if they're even aliens.
I love the idea that they're future humans coming back to observe and perhaps even experiment on us.
And then you gotta wonder, I can't wait for Paper Girls. That comic I read for so long. That's going to be a TV show. And that we definitely got a podcast, dude. That's what it's all about. It's like
Paper Girls is going to become a TV show?
Yeah. Brian K. Vaughan writes it. Great graphic novels. It just wrapped up a few months ago. But you've got like warring factions. You've got like a generation in the far future that's at war with the generation like 100 years before them, because they're tired of seeing them tamper with the timeline and blah. It's just really timey-wimey fun.
I might have to buy the trade paperback of that.
It's definitely worth reading, man. I think it's going to be a good show if done correctly.
What is that going to be on again?
I don't. It's in very early stages, but it's been opted for a TV.
Isn't
show.
Gideon Falls supposed to get a TV show too?
Either that or a movie, something like that.
Or was it Oblivion Song?
I think Oblivion Song is going to be a movie, and maybe Gideon Falls is going to be a show. Why the Last Man? That's another one, man. It's going to be a really good show. I hope. It was a great book. Great read. But
I read the first 2 volumes of that. I need to continue.
But yeah, it's wild stuff. Weird, wild, wacky stuff.
I don't know. What in the grand scheme, what do you believe?
Who, me?
Yeah, if you had to.
I guess I'm the only one here, right?
Yep.
Yeah, man. I've kind of veered away from the idea that extraterrestrial, UFO, whatever, are from another planet. I think they're possibly interdimensional, possibly from right here on Earth, wherever they're coming from, be it beyond Antarctica or whatever. But I have kind of veered away that they're visitors from distant planets, and I'm not ruling that out.
Right.
But I don't know, man. If they were doing like trials, like would you be a test pilot for a time machine?
I don't know if I want to be a test pilot.
Like say alternate timeline, you had to join the Air Force right out of high school, and you're like ranked way up there now. You're highly revered and all. You've had a great career, and they come at you and they want you to be one of the test pilots for a time machine.
I don't think it works that way. I feel like if I was that decorated, revered, and that big of an asset, I don't think that they would want to risk something that would get me killed.
Well, I
mean, not in the test phases. I mean, once they had it figured out, yeah, they probably would want me to be the pilot. They would want their best to pilot it, but I doubt that they would use their best as guinea pigs.
Well, let's say they're like, look, we've sent like 6 monkeys back in time. 4 have come back. We're feeling pretty good about this thing.
No, I don't.
How do you feel about going to the Renaissance?
No, I don't need pretty good. I need pretty certain.
Have a chance to see, opening night for Romeo.
I mean, I feel like people have gotten STDs that way. I'm pretty confident I don't have herpes.
Yeah.
So I mean, no, I need to know. We're very, we're pretty much certain that you'll be fine.
4 out of 6 monkeys ain't that bad.
It's not, but again.
And maybe those other 2 monkeys just decided to stay, maybe they fell in love.
Maybe they evolved into something else entirely and branched off and created new timelines.
Could be, man.
Or maybe they just were fried when the, laws of physics ripped their body to pieces.
Yeah.
But no, I wouldn't. So do you believe in extraterrestrials? Period? I mean.
I do. Well, just like I said, for me, it's a matter of, are they coming from distant planets? Are they coming like you?
Well, no. All right. In our dimension here, do you believe in our universe that there exist extraterrestrials, not of extra dimensional origins?
Yeah. Like I said, it's a matter of whether, and I know this kind of contradicts that, of whether they're actually coming from other planets or if it's.
That's what I'm saying. Do you believe that there are aliens or extraterrestrials? Right. I get that you believe in other dimensions. That's established. I'm saying, do you think there are any in this dimension?
Well, and I'm not talking about strictly interdimensional. I'm talking about, people, possibly other races from where we live, just from places we don't know. But I don't know, man. My opinions as far as life on other planets is definitely. It's not as concrete and resolute as a few years ago. I'd have been like, absolutely, you'd be stupid not to think that.
I think there are. I mean, I definitely think there could be extra dimensional beings. I think there could be time travelers, but I just think the universe is too vast for there not to exist, for life not to originate somewhere else in it. Mm-hmm. I mean, just the thought that we're completely alone in the universe is I don't know, man. I feel like that's just. I don't know. It's just hard for me to wrap my mind around. I mean, like I said, I definitely think that there's a chance there could be extra dimensional beings. There could be time travelers. I mean, they could come from places other than here. But just the thought that as far as originating in this universe, we're the only things I just don't see.
Yeah, whether they're planet hopping or not, that's what I'm kind of on the fence about. And that goes into the nature of space.
Well, I mean, that could become us in the future, just basically hopping planet to planet and staying as for a few hundred years and a few thousand years, whatever, and then heading off. I mean, I like the idea that we I'm sure you've heard the Superman type theories that we started as relics of a lost planet or civilization, like sent here.
Yeah,
and sent here to continue human life from a destroyed planet.
Yeah, there was a great episode of the Twilight Zone.
Just bullshit. None of us got superpowers.
And, a lot of people think not even like it was just like microorganisms on a comet that hit the Earth and like incubate it. And, that's where single-celled organisms came from.
I find that fascinating that we could possibly have extraterrestrial roots.
Yeah, man. It's crazy to think about.
I worked with a guy when I was an electrician who, when he didn't bathe frequently, would get real scaly. So, I mean, maybe we do have other worldly reptilian genes in us that came from a comet.
I mean, we've got what's that thing about like the lizard brain? Like part of our brain is like reptilian or something.
And I mean, we can reach our tongues out about. I can get mine about 7 feet out in front of me and snatch flies out the air.
That's not bad. That's not bad at all.
Actually, you know what? That's a bad example. Frogs aren't reptiles; they're amphibians.
Amphibians.
So yeah, that's
are.
a terrible example. Damn it! I'm a chameleon.
Yeah.
And no, I can't reach my tongue out. I'm not good at jokes. I'm really stupid. You'll learn that if you listen to this podcast long enough. But it used to be. I'm just not now because I'm stupid. But I don't know. I've heard about the reptile brain. I don't know. Some people
Makes you wonder.
I've also read that we're related to cows.
Yeah, well, we share more of our...
Not related, but we have our chromosomes, or either our DNA one is set up very similar to like cows, and maybe that's why people were theorizing that extraterrestrials were abducting and slicing up cows because they could learn about us through the cows without having to kill us.
Am I right when I'm thinking that we share more of our DNA with like mice than with monkeys?
I don't know, but I know that our DNA. Oh no, I don't. I mean, you look that up.
I feel like
because the thing is, I've heard that we have a 98% DNA match with chimps. So I just don't know. Unless you're saying that we have a 99% with mice.
Because like they can grow like ears and stuff on mice.
Right.
I'm gonna
look that up. Yeah, that could be true, but I've just been and it could be lies. But I've just been told my whole life that we have a 98% DNA, match with chimps. Like we're very, very, very similar. I mean, you can look at it.
Mice and men share about 97.5% of their working DNA. I don't know if that's more or less than like.
They say chimps are supposed to be 98 is what the number I had always been told.
That's a astounding similarity, 97.5%.
Well, I mean, don't some people think we all started as the same thing and just evolved into different things?
Yeah, just a single-celled organism, yeah.
So, I mean, it makes sense.
Yeah, man.
If that's the case.
And like our anatomy is so similar to like a pig's,
Right, and pigs and cows.
Yeah.
And chimps and now mice.
Have we done a podcast about the pigmen? I think we did, didn't we?
No, I don't think so. Pigmen? Elaborate, because I've
like
never heard of this. You probably talked about it on some podcast.
Yeah, I know we've touched base on just about like the Chinese doing genetic experiments, making like
oh, we did do Chinese super soldiers. Yeah, that was a weird Wednesday conspiracy cast.
Right. Yeah. Growing like human embryos in pigs and all that stuff, and making hybrids and using them for like organ collection and
yes, we did.
What else?
Yes, we did. That was the Weird Wednesday podcast. It was titled something like Chinese super soldiers or something to that effect.
Those Chinese, man, they're smart cookies.
That they are.
Not a big fan of the communism, but
not my favorite. No, but they are smart. Maybe one day smart enough to realize that it doesn't work.
Well, time will tell.
But I don't know. Anything else you want to add before we wrap it up? Because as I say, as I get older, my brain just does not work. So I'm kind of running out of steam here.
And it is very early as well. Nah, man, I think we rounded the bases pretty good on this one.
I mean, this was more of an opinion, just discussion than other ones. So let us know your thoughts. There is no wrong opinion in most cases. So let us know what you think. Do you think that extraterrestrials are us from the future coming back to observe the past? Do you think that they are just extraterrestrials? Or do you think that it's all a bunch of bullshit and none of the extraterrestrial sightings, are actually real, that they're just made up hoaxes or, naturally explained phenomenon? Where do you stand on the issue? One of our commenters, I think, actually inspired this because, this is something that's been talked about for a long time, so it's not a new idea to us. But then somebody had mentioned, I think, in the comment section of one of our podcasts that they thought, they had read something about the reason why you don't have as many caught on camera and stuff as you did or reported is because they were us from the future coming back to observe times when history wasn't as well recorded and documented as it is today, which actually makes a lot of sense. So that kind of inspired this. And I apologize. I am not really awake. We do these really early.
Sometimes we do, yeah.
And it's just we got a long day ahead of us, and I'm still thinking about everything else I have to do as soon as we wrap this up. So sorry if I was a bit confusing or all over the place there. But consider checking out our Patreon, patreon.com/thepodcastingdad. I think we're actually going to meet. We got a logo back for the channel.
We did.
That we're not very happy with. So we're going to meet with them to discuss how we would rather.
Yeah, it's kind of a bizarre.
They basically took what we said and I guess
Yeah. And,
didn't hear it quite. I don't.
And a shout out to Seth Scott, our newest patron.
Whoop! Thank you, Seth.
Welcome aboard. Just FYI, once The Walking Dead starts back up, we got a bunch of cool Walking Dead merch. We're going to be doing weekly giveaways for both patrons and regular listeners alike.
Oh, yeah.
But keep in mind, just $1 a holler. You can be a patron for as little as $1 a month.
Absolutely. You get extra podcasts every week. You get a secret contest and like our mail call, even though it didn't work the way we wanted it to. We do things like we did a video mail call for patrons only. And then, of course, it'll come out for, we'll do video podcasts for our YouTube channel, but patrons get first look at it.
Yeah.
Whereas, others get just the audio. So consider checking out our Patreon for extra content. Like JP said, as little as $1 a month you can support. And it just helps us out because, man, we really have to sometimes even take away from our other job to do this. A lot of times we have to not go do things that could make us money to make sure we have time to record this. So, aside from all the bonus stuff that you get, it also just helps us out a ton.
We're podcasting like 5 days a week, basically.
Yeah, absolutely. It's kind of become like a little job. So we hope that you enjoy. And if you're new to the channel, again, consider subscribing. Hit that like button. It helps us out a ton. Don't forget, we'll have another Patreon exclusive podcast tomorrow. And we'll see you Friday for our mail call podcast.
Yep, sure enough.
So in the meantime, I'm Justin.
I'm JP.
And we're the Podcasting Dead.